Well, hello. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio. Hurricane H here. And today we have a unique presence. We have a panel. Not one guest, but we have many. And today's topic is going to touch a little bit on healthcare coverage in a different light. So we've covered in previous shows a little bit about Medicare, especially we just finished the season for Medicare. I think early on we covered a little bit about Medicaid. So today we have a panel to discuss Medicaid Solutions. Again, in a different component, in a different, outfit. It's been almost a year since COVID. There's a lot of stuff going on. And a lot of folks, think Medicaid is typically for folks that may have less income or less resources. And maybe that's a misconception. So today we might be able to clear some of that and get to know a little bit, who qualifies for it, what are the qualifications, how does it work, where you can get assistance, and any other type of question that you probably think about Medicaid. And is it for me? I make too much money. I don't think that this is for me because I don't want to be, using benefits and government money and all that stuff. So all the taboos that you might have, we might be able to remove those today. So we have a panel of experts, and we also have an elder law with us as well, elder law lawyer, attorney with us to actually cover some of the very intricate and very important pieces of the Medicaid in general. So again, Medicaid is a lot, and I might be able to talk a little bit to it, but I can't do it better than those guys with us today. So with that, I'm going to lead with our president CEO of the company, Leonora. And Leonora, why don't you tell us a little bit about, first of all, about the company?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction and for having us today.
Anytime. My pleasure.
Very first thing is I want to introduce my colleagues. So my first colleague, Paul Moskowitz. So he's an elder law attorney. He does estate planning and Medicaid planning. Very great attorney. He has offices in Long Island, in Brooklyn. Did I miss somewhere, Paul?
And New Jersey.
And New Jersey,
right. Yeah. Well, this is all over the place, so actually we can cover also Jersey. It's all good.
Yes, and then I have my colleague who's the COO of the company, of our company, Experts Medicaid Consultants. He helps me run the day-to-day. And we're a Medicaid consulting company that helps people apply for Medicaid in all different situations.
All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So let's talk about just Medicaid in general. Who typically qualifies for Medicaid? Let's get some of the taboos and some of the elements of, basic elements of Medicaid, because I think, a lot of people may know about it. Who covers it? Who pays for it? All those types of questions. If we can start with that as a base, and then we can move to the level of expertise and the level of Medicaid services you offer.
Well, I can honestly tell you that with the right type of planning, we can really get anyone to qualify. So it all comes down to what type of planning do you have? And, when you have an elder law attorney that does your Medicaid planning, when you have a Medicaid consulting company, there's very little room for you not to be able to qualify. So as long as you know the quality of help that you're getting, and when we say quality, when you come in, we speak with you, we're going to ask you the eligibility questions. We're going to ask you about your assets. We're going to ask you about your resources, your income, all of that stuff that we have to know about you. And we're going to tell you, you're going to have to do this, this, and this. Okay. And depending also on the amount of time that the earlier you start your Medicaid planning, the better. If you have resources and assets that are way over the Medicaid allowable, it's a great resource to have someone like Paul to come and do your estate planning, to come and do, your Medicaid planning, because the earlier you do it, the better. And then you're also going to qualify for Medicaid. We'll be able to file your Medicaid application without any problems. You're going to get approval, nice and smooth approval. If you're over an income, we'll be able to do a specific type of trust called a pooled income trust to help qualify you, whether you're over resources. And people don't have to spend an arm and a leg just to be able to get some type of help, for example, home care services. Private pay home care is a very expensive thing. And by having Medicaid,
Speak to
and
that
also
for a
doing,
moment. I think the
Okay.
question we need to ask ourselves first, or the entire audience, is why even go through this? Why do planning? And who should be doing planning? I think those are the two important questions we should be addressing. The why is, and Leonora is just, talking about that or touching on that, is the cost of care, of long-term care specifically, is extremely, extremely expensive. The cost of home care, as an example, for an individual can cost anywhere from $90,000, $100,000 to $200,000 a year. So without doing any planning, you're basically looking at either paying privately or getting onto Medicaid. That's kind of always your two options. Either pay privately, come up with that type of money. And again, if it's going to start at $10,000 a month, it's probably going to be the next year, it's going to be 15 and 20. It's a compounding number. It's going to get more and more expensive to care for either yourself, your spouse, your loved one, whoever that might be, a parent, very common scenario. People are going out, they're working, and they also have to care for their parent. And that's when they have to figure out how they can get home care or care for that individual. So it's about how to get there. How do you get Medicaid to cover the expense of long-term care? And that's really where, Leonora and her team at Experts Medicaid comes in very, very strongly into determining who would be eligible, how to get them qualified. And to that question, and this is for the audience at large, anybody can really become eligible for Medicaid. The advantage of that is, instead of having to spend down your money and having no money left and then get onto Medicaid, why don't you save your money, protect your money, and also get onto Medicaid at the same time? And that's really, and it's an opportunity for anybody, and it's important for anybody to know, because the last position you want to be in is where you depleted your assets and you say, I have no more money, and now get onto Medicaid. And I'll let Leonora speak to that a little bit more. But I think the who and the why is a very important thing to answer first.
Yeah, so if I may, so cost, to your point, I mean, that is the biggest thing. I mean, and especially as people get older and, their finances are limited at that point. It becomes almost, I mean, I've seen this in real life, whether it's through nursing homes or even home care at home, to get the aids and to get the support, it is not cheap. It adds up very, very quickly, and you can deplete whatever, savings you might have. So if there is not enough planning in advance, that's certainly going to be a big deal. But today we want to cover these elements, like the who and the why, but also like the concept itself, because there are a lot of questions about Medicaid. Well, and you just clearly stated it's for everyone, as long as you know how to do it. So Lyra, how do we get that? Like for someone that is not sure, where do they start?
So, I mean, the very first thing would be to call our office. That's the very first start, and I really advise everybody to do that. And there's a lot of people that are worried that they're not going to be able to understand us or get the proper help because of a language barrier. And this is always the very first thing that I always mention to all of our clients, is that any language that you speak, please do not be afraid to give us a call. We can definitely help you, whether you speak English, you speak Spanish, you speak Russian, Urdu, Polish, Chinese, any language that you speak, please give us a call. We can definitely help you. We have representatives that can assist you in literally any language that you need. So, that would be the very first step. Call Expert Medicaid. Okay, and then, our consultations are free. So, we can speak with you. You can make an appointment, come into our office. You can speak with us over the phone. Now, during the coronavirus, during the corona pandemic, we offer Zoom consultations. And, when we speak with the client, we always tell them, we're going to ask you a couple of questions of eligibility, and we're going to see exactly what is going to be the scenario of us being able to qualify you. So we find out every single thing about the client, how much assets do they have? Do they have any resources? What is their income? Do they have any retirement accounts? Do they have a life insurance policy? Do they have any type of investments? Every single thing that we can on the client. Once we find out the whole entire scenario of the client, we let them know, okay, based on your scenario, this is what we can do. This is going to be the first step. This is going to be the second step. Are you looking to pursue home care? If you are, here's, this extra step that we're going to have to do. And then once you get Medicaid and you want home care, here are your following steps. And we really have a helping hand throughout the entire process for them. So just because they applied for Medicaid and they got approved doesn't mean that we take ourselves out of the game. We continue helping them. So if they got approved for Medicaid, if they need, to do an extra step because they're over in resources, for example, and we set them up with the pooled income trust, we don't just throw them into there and then they never hear from us again. We make sure that the trust is correctly filed into the Medicaid office. We'll make sure, that it gets approved with the state, as well as the Medicaid application, that it got approved. Once we give them to the home care agency, we'll follow up with the home care and make sure that everything is okay. The clients can literally call us at any time. Our phones are always, ringing because clients feel so comfortable to constantly share with us, every step of the game. When they get assessed by the New York State nurse, they passed their evaluations, or if they pass the evaluation from the plan to know how many hours they got, they always call us very happy, thank you so much, I got my hours, I'm going to start my home care as of the 1st of next month, very, very, very excited. If they have resources.
I think the biggest thing is that people just don't know, they're not educated to know that there are resources out there to help them, and that they can also qualify. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that for people to be educated, to know that there's somebody out there that can help them with this, and everybody can qualify for home care, for nursing home. Obviously there are look back periods, and there are complications. Not to say everything's simple, but there are a lot of resources out there. Expert Medicaid being one of the best out there in terms of the resource, but it's important for people to know it's an option. I find I speak to people and they're like, they've already spent a lot of money, and they're like, can you get me on Medicaid? If only I would have known this earlier on. I could have saved all this money. I could have been on home care. I could have got my mom more hours already through Medicaid. Instead, I didn't get her that many hours because I was private paying and I was concerned about, the money. So all these things, just getting educated, I think, is a big, big part of this. And knowing that you too can qualify, and that you just need to have that conversation and identify what are the steps. Obviously, the steps are a little bit different for everybody, but knowing that there's a resource out there that's going to walk you through these steps, and it's not going to be cumbersome for them. The weight is really on Leonora, on myself, on our firm, on Leonora, on her team. We take that weight off, because ultimately we're here for the client to get to that end goal and get the care they need. It's nothing else besides for that. We know that we're here to get them the care.
Exactly. And we're always here for them, and like I said, in any language that they speak. I always make it a very important point that, no matter what language they speak, they can get the help, because a lot of people feel that they have to know English in order for them to get the help. And you don't. You can speak any language, and we can definitely help you. And even if there's a language that we can't, we can't translate it, we will find translators to help you. So, the education that we can give our clients is endless on how much we can help them. And, the earlier that they come to us, the more time we have to help them out. And, and like I said, Medicaid planning is a very important thing that, Paul does very well. When a client comes to him, and, if they have a lot of resources and assets, and let's just say they need to go into a nursing home, for example, the earlier, the better, he can set it up, 5 years have to go by, and, he'll make it so that everything is nice and smooth. By the time that they're, God forbid, they have to go into a nursing home, they're ready. They don't have to worry that something is going to happen with their property or anything like that. So, the earlier that you start planning, the better. Whether you need to do a power of attorney, power of attorney is always needed. We always ask all of our clients, if you can set it up earlier, even if you don't think that you need it right now, it's always good to have just in case of an emergency, because you never know. Life is honestly unpredictable, so it's good to have it, in the back of your sleeve.
We've learned that.
Healthcare proxy.
We learned that the hard way during COVID. I mean, a lot of people.
That's right.
It's
right.
been crazy. Well, they didn't
Yeah.
realize how important that is until it happened, and nobody can do anything for them.
Not
Exactly.
to scare anybody listening to this, but one of the biggest things, and Leonora is touching on it now, is a power of attorney. If you don't have a power of attorney, even if it's on your spouse or a child, you cannot act on their behalf. And if they're deemed mentally incapacitated, you will have to go for guardianship over them. So it could have been avoided with a simple power of attorney. Everybody should have a power of attorney so that somebody can act on your behalf in the event you're not able to act on your own behalf. So it's a very critical document. Sounds simple because really it is. But you as an individual, when you're of sound mind, you need to appoint that person that can represent you when you're unable to represent yourself.
Excellent.
Exactly. And it's very important, because we all have loved ones that, we cherish, that we love. And you don't want to end up in a situation where, you really need to make a decision. They can't make a decision on their behalf. And, you have to wait until courts open in order for you to get some kind of permission in order to make a decision on their behalf. And during the coronavirus, when everything is closed, what are you going to do? So it's honestly the best thing that you can do for your relatives is just take a little bit of time, go, Paul is a great source to go to get a power of attorney. It doesn't take a lot of time and just get it done. It doesn't mean that you have to use it all the time, but use it when necessary, because it's great to have. And even for home care services, if someone is not able, for example, to direct their own care, having a power of attorney, having a healthcare proxy, someone who can lead your care is good to have there, because sometimes, they can't make decisions on their own. So it's great to have someone that, you trust, and especially for kids, who care about their grandparents, about their parents, and, doing as much planning in advance is always the best thing. It's honestly, the best thing that you could do for your parents, for your grandparents, for your loved ones. And we've found this, during coronavirus, especially, where people came to us saying, I wish I did this like at least a year ago. It's sad, but unfortunately, I think that everybody kind of learned their lesson during this pandemic.
I mean, listen, it's been a learning, right, for everyone in a lot of aspects, and in
Yeah.
healthcare, it's probably the most eye-opening thing. People were admitted, people could not even do anything to make a decision on their behalf because they have no documentation. No one's seen it coming, and then to your point, you need to have something. I mean, at best, you have.
I think it showed us that life can change in a very, very quick time, and life is unexpected. And, you plan, obviously you live, you're optimistic, and everybody's optimistic, but you plan for the best.
And don't just live in the moment, as they say.
Well, they say, right? It's an expression I've always heard. If you fail to plan to fail.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's
That's
very
right.
common, thing. But you're right. But a lot of us, to your point, are so optimistic. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm good until it happens, and like, oops. But so quickly, we've touched on a lot of items right now, a lot of topics here. One is being the home care, nursing home versus home. We talked about estate and trust. We like more, obviously, details on those, so we'll go to there. And you mentioned also about language. We are talking, at least on your behalf here, we're talking in New York City, and the counties that are surrounding, and also the six borough of Jersey. So we're talking about all the metropolitan area of New York City area here, and there's hundreds of languages and dialects. Now the idea is, to your point, it is accessible and is available, and thank you for clarifying that, because most people, to your point, are probably going to be shy. I don't know nobody's going to understand what I'm saying, and also they might not have anybody else that is willing to help them. So having you guys available to them, that's a great thing. Now we talked about some big words, trust and estate. And, everybody works hard for those things over the years. And especially when you're talking about my estate, and then you have the kids, and people get older. Sometimes they lose the ability to really make their own decisions. And a lot of times the caregivers are the ones who make all these calls and these particular decisions on their behalf. Now, how does that work with your system to get the Medicaid? Does it have to be the actual person? Does it have to be the heirs? Does it have to be the kids? I mean, again, tell us a little bit more about that.
So basically, we always prefer, of course, that the client, if the client wants to come with a family member, they can both be present when we're doing their Medicaid planning. But necessarily the kids cannot be the only ones making the decisions unless we really see a power of attorney, being present there. But if the client feels more comfortable for their family members to be present, for everybody to kind of be on the same page of how things are going to happen, what we're going to be doing, how the process is going to work, it definitely helps a lot, because sometimes, the seniors especially, they get very nervous when they hear, of the process. It's very nerve-wracking. Medicaid itself is not an easy process at all. So having a family member that they trust, like their kids, like their grandchildren, or just a friend or a neighbor that they trust, is always a good thing to have with them if they're, kind of in the middle of really not understanding, or at the moment just very, very nervous. So it's definitely, it's great to have, that person that
And
can
it
come with
always
them.
makes the process smoother. Whenever there's a family member involved, it always makes the process smoother. When it's just the person that needs Medicaid and they live by themselves, they get apprehensive, and it's normal. It's expected. But if they have somebody they trust, and that's really what it is, they have somebody they trust, or if they've already appointed a power of attorney, that means they already trust somebody. They already thought about this. They've had that conversation either internally with themselves or with somebody else. It makes the process 100% smoother. It's just inevitable. If you know somebody that's there, also, it's a difficult time. So if somebody's walking through it with you, obviously that's what we're here for. But just having a family member is a very important thing.
But the
Yeah,
decision remains with the actual,
Absolutely, always. Obviously, if the person has they have dementia, Alzheimer's, and things like that, then it's a different conversation.
Sure.
But absolutely, a person is in charge of their care forever. That's they're in charge of their care. They make the decisions on their care. Absolutely, it's we always include them in the conversations. Absolutely, they need to understand what they're signing. They need to understand what the process is. They need to understand that we're there to help them through that process. But having a family member gives them security, gives us an ease of working with somebody that's a little bit less anxious about the process. So it definitely helps out a lot.
So
Yeah.
go ahead, Jose. I know. Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah. So to be honest, in a lot of our cases when we're speaking to patients, most of the patients have family members that are involved, because the majority of the patients that we deal with are either are elderly, over the age of 65, because primarily that's where we're assisting these people in applying for Medicaid. So they're either over the age of 65 or classified as being disabled. We're helping these people get on Medicaid because obviously they need the long-term care at home or in the nursing home. So in most of the situations when we're speaking to patients, there are family members involved, whether it's the, children, sons, daughters, nephew, nieces. It does make it a little bit easier because, especially if the individual's elderly, sometimes it's not the easiest for them to comprehend what we're trying to explain to them, especially when we're speaking about in terms of helping them set up the pool trust, which the pool trust is obviously a program that's needed when someone's income, obviously with Medicaid, there is an income allowable. When an individual or a couple is applying for Medicaid and they surpass that income allowable, we go into detail about the pool trust, and basically how the trust works is the difference of their income, they're making over the Medicaid income allowable, the difference gets put into the trust, and that money that's in the trust is allocated towards their monthly bill. So, explaining the pool trust, especially when you're speaking to individuals that are elderly, it's sometimes it's not the easiest for them to grasp and comprehend. So that's why, as Paul was, got into, as he mentioned, it makes it easier sometimes when you have family members that they trust, children, nephews, nieces, whatever, the grandchildren are involved, so basically they can assist their grandparents, parents, uncles, aunts, make it a more seamless process for them,
So, I mean,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, at the end of the day, all of the patient that we speak with them as if there are, that's what differentiates our company from most companies. When we speak with people, we don't just speak with them. We don't just look at them like as a number or a statistic, or like like a lot of companies might do. We speak with them as if they were a member of our own family, because we understand, there's a reason why they're, inquiring about Medicaid. It is because they need the long-term care, whether at home or, in a facility. So our job is to try to make that process as, seamless as, and easy, simple, and as painless as possible, so that, so these patients can get the care that they need.
So I'm sorry, I was gonna say, I mean, you just made it sound very easy, because I know, it gets confusing even for me, and I've been working with these types of programs for years, and I'm still, trying to figure out sometimes how to work it and even explain it. So I appreciate the actual ease there, because it was easy.
I know it definitely, it's not an easy process, that's for sure. But, at our company, we strive to make it, we basically break it down and simplify it as much as we can for, the patients to understand, especially, when you're dealing with the elderly. We try to really, simplify it and break it down to a point where they, are able to comprehend what we're trying to explain. And, everybody has, every person has a different financial situation. Some people might have more assets, resources. Some people might qualify easily because, they don't have, barely any type of assets or resources. So we don't really have to go into too much detail in those, in those type of scenarios. But, obviously everyone has their own, different set of circumstances. So whatever the situation is, whatever the person's financial situation, or, we're able to assist with any type of situation. And we just break it down and try to simplify it as much as possible. And at the end of the day, ensure these people that we're going to strive to make sure they get the services that they need, get the coverage they need.
So the level, is there a cap or limit where people can be, or there's no, doesn't matter how much or how many assets you have, you can still qualify?
You want to get into it?
So for Community Medicaid, which means Medicaid for people who are 65 and older or disabled, they could be younger and disabled, there is a cap on your resources. So for a single person, the cap is $15,900. For a married couple, it's $23,000. Now, does that mean that of resources, correct? Of income, the numbers are completely different. But if you're over in resources, let's just say that somebody has $100,000 in the bank, that doesn't automatically mean that you do not qualify. And unfortunately, that there's a lot of people out there that think, oh, I saved all my life. I have $100,000 in the bank, and that's it. I don't qualify anymore. I'm not even going to try. Or I have to spend down all of my resources just for me to be able to get some help. That is an incorrect statement on their behalf. There are resources that you can use, and Paul is a great tool here, because he can set you up with what's called an irrevocable trust or a MAP trust, and he can help you pass the resource test for the Medicaid application by just helping you establish an irrevocable trust.
And at that point, Medicaid today, and this is why it's timely, is Medicaid today allows, especially in the boroughs, allows for us to move assets out of an individual's name in a legal, transparent manner, and still qualify you for Community Medicaid within 30 days. So really what we need is a clean bank statement, basically a bank statement that shows under that $15,000 or that $23,000 when it's a couple. And because the assets can be moved, in an easy way. Obviously, contacting the right people and doing it in the correct fashion is important, but because Medicaid does allow you to move the assets, that is why they can qualify in a short amount of time.
So that's great as far as the resource and talking about money in the bank and so on. What about I own a house and now, my house is valued at X dollars, where is that going to put me? Am I out of, this league here or do I have a chance to still, by having, a home? I mean, I worked all my life, I paid it off. And
Sure.
now, I mean, when I bought it for $20,000, it's worth $1 million. How do I go now?
Very
do I have
common
to sell?
scenario. So with a house, there is two caveats, and I don't want to get too complicated here for the audience and for yourself, but there are two things. Number one is if your house is worth over $875,000, then that house is a problem for resources. It's a problem for Medicaid. Okay. Now, if it's below that, it's not a problem and you can get onto Medicaid without any issue. However, if you pass away with that house in your name after you've already been on Medicaid for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and that house passes through as part of your estate and is not moved into a trust or moved out of your estate, then Medicaid will claw back the house. We'll put a lien on that house after the passing of the individual that was a Medicaid recipient. So if you have a house in your name, the smartest thing is to move that house no matter what the equity in that house is. Obviously, if it's below that threshold, it will not disqualify you from getting onto Medicaid, but even so, there could be a Medicaid clawback after the fact.
Well, again, I'm sure that's the stuff that you will work as you do the assessments and
Exactly.
get through all that, little
Exactly.
tricky stuff. I mean, there's more to it, I'm sure. I mean, we can't cover it all here, but again, I think from my at least perspective, that would be the first thing I'm going to ask. Money,
Absolutely. Protect the house. It's usually the people's biggest asset, the house. Protect the house you saved, you paid off the mortgage, you have a little bit of mortgage. You don't want to get a reverse mortgage to pay for care. Don't do that. I'm not here to take away business from the people that are doing reverse mortgages. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Don't do that if you can have alternatives so that you save the equity in the house. Save that equity in the house and you can also get care. Move the house. It's a simple move. It's an easy move. And it's and it really does not affect you at all. The house is still yours. You live in it, you enjoy it, you're gonna have it for the rest of your life. Just protect it. Put a cover around it that protects it.
now you mentioned earlier, sorry, Jose, you want to say something?
Yeah. So I was gonna go
Please.
into a really important aspect about Medicaid is income. A lot of people obviously think they don't qualify because they make a certain
Sure.
amount. So for a single individual, Medicaid in New York City, New York State, allows a maximum of $904 a month. For a single individual, you can't
That
make more
includes the $20 disregard.
than $20 card. So for a single individual, it's $904 the monthly Medicaid allowable. For a married couple, it's $1,320. So $1,320 is the Medicaid income allowable for a married couple. So obviously, living in New York, most people, are making more than that type of monthly income. Most of these people who we are assisting to apply for Medicaid, either, they're getting Social Security monthly. Most of these people are retired, disabled, so they're getting Social Security monthly retirement income or pensions from previous jobs where they used to work before they retired or, had to retire because they became disabled, unfortunately. So even if a person is making over the monthly allowables, let's say, for example, a single person is applying. Let's say, the income allowable 904. So let's say, for example, they're making, $1,400 a month. So basically, you would take the difference, whatever a person's total monthly income equates to, you would subtract their total monthly income from the Medicaid allowable of 904. So if someone is making $1,400 a month, you would subtract 904 from 1,400. So that would equate to the difference that single person would be responsible for in order to be qualified to have Medicaid. So the difference that a person is making over the monthly Medicaid allowable, that difference money gets put into what's called a pool income trust. So basically, what's a pool income trust? So the pool income trust is a trust,
Legal way to shelter.
a legal way to shelter a person's excess income. So let's say, for example, someone is making $500 more than what Medicaid allows. So someone has a difference of $500. So with the pool trust, that $500 gets put into the pool trust monthly. So every month, the person puts in the $500 that they're making over the Medicaid allowable. That money gets put into the trust every month. And every month, the trust uses that difference money of $500 towards to pay the person's monthly bills. So whatever monthly household bills that person has under their name, all they would have to do is send those bills to the trust. And in turn, the trust will use the $500 difference that the person is responsible for, and they would allocate that $500 towards their monthly bills. So it can be if the person has, they need their rent to be paid, they have a cable bill, credit card bill, cell phone bill, basically any household bill that the person's name is displayed on, you can send those bills to the trust, and the trust would use the difference money towards paying those bills monthly. And if the person agrees to move forward with that, they'll be fully qualified to Medicaid. Obviously, as well, as long as their resources are in check and they meet the other qualifications. But the primary obstacle for people in most situations is obviously income. Income is the biggest obstacle to overcome for an individual, because most people are making over 904 or 1,320 if it's a married couple. So the pool trust is a legal way to shelter that excess income, which allows the person to be fully qualified for Medicaid. A person can even be over, let's say, even $6,000. They can have a difference of $6,000 of income over the Medicaid allowable. But as long as you establish the pool trust and everything else, is in order, you'll be that person or married couple would be fully qualified to have, fully qualified for Medicaid benefits.
So earlier, thank you, Jose. That's very actually detailed, and it makes more sense to understand now. You can make the money and still have your bills covered, and whatever you're allowable is still your pocket money. So you're good.
And still get home care if you need home care, or any coverage that you need Medicaid to cover. You do a pool trust, you get your bills paid. You still have that $904 if you're single, or $1,320 if you're married. And then you still get those great benefits that, you can get help, a lot, medical supplies, home care, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say real quickly. So yeah, the biggest benefit, especially for most of the people that we're assisting, is so they can get home care services, long-term care at the home. Because obviously, a lot of people, elderly, over the age of 65 or disabled, need home care services. And unfortunately, Medicare doesn't really cover much of it. Medicaid is really the only insurance that covers long-term care, aside from having to pay out of pocket. Medicaid covers, pays it for the individual. So, but that's a thing that also people, that we also speak about with people. Medicaid is not only going to cover them for the home care services. Medicaid basically covers, because Medicare covers 80%. So one of the qualifications to be qualified for Community Medicaid is the person has to be either over the age of 65 or disabled. So if a person has Medicare and we're applying them on Medicaid, Medicaid will cover the 20% that Medicare does not cover. And more importantly, they'll be covered for home care services. And basically the majority of their medical expenses are covered under Medicaid.
Well, they'll get Medicaid, Medicare,
and Medicare.
Also get managed care, and
yes.
They get, like you mentioned earlier about plans. So they get all the services that they need from both sides. It's pretty much a full coverage,
because they can't, once they've been deemed as an individual that doesn't have the wherewithal to pay, they won't get billed by the provider. They know that they're a Medicaid recipient. Medicaid's going to get billed for that, for that floor of anything that wasn't captured by by their primary, by Medicare. Medicaid will be the catch-all.
Excellent. So someone gets into this form of Medicaid. In a regular Medicaid, for someone that is not qualified for this, or just below the income and even younger, they'll have to recertify or do some sort of a redetermination process. Is there such a thing when it comes to this particular type of Medicaid that we're talking today about, the pool trust?
Yes, so whether you're on Community Medicaid or Marketplace Medicaid, you do have to recertify. Honestly, when you're on SSI, and SSI is really for low income people, that is really one of those times where you don't have to recertify because you automatically with SSI have food stamps and Medicaid. But with Community Medicaid, people who have worked and they've accumulated a lot of income, you do have to recertify. And even when you have to recertify, you're still not alone. We're still here for you. So even though we did your Medicaid application and, we did your Medicaid planning, a year goes by, and you now have to do your recertification, we always tell our clients, we're still here for you. We're still going to help you. And, to kind of build on top of that, I also want to mention that, at Expert Medicaid, we're so dedicated to our clients that we have built our own custom-made portal that really tracks a lot of different processes for us. So one of the greatest processes that it tracks for us, which I have not heard of other companies doing, is recertifications. So once we help you get on Medicaid, we actually track down when you're supposed to have your recertification, and our system texts you, it calls you on a weekly basis, reminding you that if you need help and you need assistance in recertifying, please call our office, please, speak with us, and we will help you recertify to make sure that not only do you not lose out on your services, but also the home care agency doesn't lose their authorization to be able to service you. There are some home care agencies that we work with that even allow us to do their eligibility checks just to make sure that if something happened and a patient was fallen off services, that they were taken away from the managed long-term care plan, we have that 30-day short little period to get them back into the plan and kind of not lose out on their services that they were getting. So recertifications are a very important aspect that a lot of people just kind of overlook because it's been a year and they're not going to take Medicaid away from me. They already know that I need it. Don't think it's not serious. It's serious, but we're here for you no matter what. We're going to remind you, we're going to text you, we're going to call you. They can always come into our office. We do it over the phone with a lot of our clients, so it's a very important aspect that we do take very, very seriously. And thank you to our portal. It made it a very easy aspect because, not a lot of people think too much about recertifications, but it really is a very important aspect of Medicaid, even though it's only 7 pages long.
It is, and a lot of people forget about it, and then they end up with no coverage until it's too late. Yeah. So.
Exactly, and then you have to reapply, and that alone, takes 30 to 45 business days. So why take it to those measures?
And then you have a lapse in coverage, which
home something happens in between.
Yeah.
Well, Lenora, I think we have to talk to you later because. If you have a system for recertification, I think a lot of people will be interested, including health plans, because that is a tough thing to follow because it's hard.
It definitely is. And we're open to working with anybody. So if anybody needs help with recertifications, by all means, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 5 days a week, and even Sundays, we're here for you.
Yeah.
All right, we got to talk about that.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say that's also one of the biggest differences of, with our company compared to others. We've invested a lot into technology. So the software portal that we have developed, it, we are basically as paperless almost, as can be. And, when it comes to assisting people with Medicaid applications, setting up pool trust, recertification, it's all, usually it entails a lot of paperwork. But thanks to our software portal, our Medicaid applications are generated electronically, signatures are everything done electronically, which makes the process even quicker. And, also one of the other advantages that we offer is not only do we assist people, obviously we assist people getting on Medicaid. Now, we're not a home care agency, but we do explain to these people who obviously need the home care services. Once we get you on Medicaid, the next step is we'll provide them the number to call New York Medicaid Choice, Maximus. So basically anyone who needs long-term home care services, within the community, they need to be deemed, eligible by the New York State Medicaid nurse. So in order to be seen by the Medicaid nurse, obviously the person has to be Medicaid eligible. So once we get all of our members on Medicaid, we'll let them know, okay, now you are approved for Medicaid. Next step is to call Maximus, New York Medicaid Choice. You can schedule the assessment with the nurse, and whatever day and time, they'll call, they'll schedule the appointment. And majority of the time, most of these people, they do get approved from, the long-term care, because a lot of the people we are helping are, elderly or disabled. So those people qualify a lot more easier for home care services. So we'll let them know, once your Medicaid gets approved, call this number, schedule the assessment with the New York State nurse. Once you get approved for long-term care services in the community, next step is you'll get a call from the managed long-term care plan, and they'll determine, the hours that you'll be getting as of the first of the following month. So not only do we speak to our members about the Medicaid process, but we also speak to them a little bit about how home care works.
Back next. Exactly.
Yeah, because that's, unfortunately, me and Leonora had some experience prior to, we're running Expert Medicaid Consultants. We used to work for home care agencies. So we do have, a good idea of how, the home care process works, and, what are the benefits, obviously, and what it entails.
And I just want to, highlight the fact that, because we did work for a home care agency, and, we did, we do help people with Medicaid, it really does make the process of explaining things to seniors much, much easier, because what's going to happen after you get them on Medicaid and how the process is going to work. A lot of people, if they only know how Medicaid works, it's very hard for them to explain to the seniors, well, afterwards, I don't know what's going to happen. Just speak with the home care agency and they'll help you. A lot of times people don't feel comfortable when you tell them something like this, because they feel that you're not very knowledgeable on what's going to happen next. And, they'd rather speak to somebody who knows the entire process from the beginning to the end. So it really does make a difference when you do know what happens, even if you have, very small little knowledge, but as long as you have the knowledge and you explain it to them in the way that they really do comprehend, it really makes it easier and more comfortable for them to even trust you. And trust is honestly, one of the biggest things, between you and a client that you can have. If they trust you, they're really going to, they're going to know that you know what you're doing, and they're not going to question you as much as they could if they don't trust you. And I feel in the healthcare world, I think that every single one of our colleagues can agree that as long as you have the patient's trust, there's a lot that you can help them do, and they're willing to help you help them. And that's the very important thing here, is that they're willing to have you help them and help them help themselves.
Absolutely. Could not have said that better. See that every day with the clients. It's really about gaining their trust and them understanding that you're there for them. You're there to get them the care they need, which is the most important thing. Obviously, Medicaid's important, getting in a revocable trust, protecting your assets. All these things are important, but ultimately they need help with care. That's really where we're getting at. And these are just prerequisites, steps to get them there. And if you're focused on the end goal, which is you turn to the client and say, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you where you're going to get care. There are steps we need to take. We're going to help you out with these steps. These are them. We're going to help you out throughout that process. It becomes a lot more manageable for them to see that through, because ultimately they see that you're there for the end goal.
Exactly.
So one thing that I wanted to ask, we're coming up to the end of the show, but a couple of things I want to just cover quickly. One is this whole thing with COVID, and people use this COVID election. How is that impacting the folks, and what could you tell the people about it? Because I think some people may misunderstand what it is and wind up with no care. Anything you want to shed a light on in that aspect?
So with COVID, there were some rules that the Medicaid office allowed us to submit less documentation, for example, when you do a Medicaid application. Now with that, any time that the rules are lightened up, there is always consequences that come out afterwards. So what the consequences in this instance is, for example, if you don't submit all the supporting documentation that you would, like you would during regular times, the client has a 3-month window afterwards to submit the additional documentation that they have to give. If they don't do that after 3 months, their coverage is finished and they would have to reapply from the beginning. So we have heard that there are companies that kind of try to take advantage of that and, apply these people without warning them that they're going to have to give these documents anyway within the next couple of months. And, they started the process of home care. They were very excited. And then all of a sudden their Medicaid coverage ended. And now you have people that, started their health care and home care. And all of a sudden, they just have no home care at all. Or Medicaid for that aspect. They can't go to the doctor like they did just a month ago, get their prescriptions, nothing, and we've had a lot of those cases where people are calling us and saying, I just had Medicaid a month ago. What can you help me? Can you figure out what happens? And, we speak with the Medicaid office and we figure out, this is exactly what happened. You had this 3-month window and you didn't give the documentation. So we're going to have to reapply you, but don't worry, this time we're going to make sure you get the coverage.
You're right.
Yeah, we're doing it right from like it was the first time.
Very good. Very good.
It's always better to get it right the first time.
Yeah,
Exactly. The second time is a little harder, but it's still doable, but it's always better from the first time.
Well, you have frustrated clients. If it's the second time, you have to deal with the frustrated client. That's about
Yes.
And
Now you realize other people who actually messed up. Now you take them.
Exactly. And you kind of have to take the heat now because, you're judged in a very more heavy way for their mistake.
I know. Well, but when you come through, you're
Exactly.
the savior there. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
The appreciation from the seniors is always, a very rewarding thing, when they really appreciate all the hoops and loops that you had to go for them. It really is, it really does make your day. Once they call you and they say, thank you so much, you really did it for me. I thought that I wouldn't be able to qualify and you really, you did the most amazing thing. It really is, just like everything that you did for them and everything, it comes all into play once you hear those final words. It's
in general, I can tell you just from the COVID aspect of it, I do think that what we'll see a lot of, going to Leonora's point, and I know in our firm also, we're very heavy on technology. And I do think that that Medicaid's office is going to get on board with technology, getting the applications in a little, more technological versus mailing them or dropping them off, which is going to streamline the process a lot more. And obviously people were not as comfortable meeting in person, which allowed also have Zoom meetings, meeting with people, getting their information more remotely allowed us to streamline our processes and really help out a lot more people in a short amount. Obviously, meeting with people in person is a lot of time and has time restrictions and constraints. So that helped out with COVID and regulations. Obviously, some were favorable, some were not favorable. We have, the look back period that's pending to be changed to a much more aggressive look back period. So there are different things coming through the pipeline, but ultimately, with every change, there's got to be some good in it, and we'll work through those things. But I do think technology is a big, we'll see more even from businesses and offices like Medicaid that have been accustomed to using. I know it even with the courts. That now they're allowing for a lot more e-filing and virtual conferences and things like that, which are allowing people to help out more people, more flexibility, easier to communicate, and obviously cutting out travel time is a big part of it.
And just to add a little bit about technology, I really want to say a big thank you to the developers of an intake system called InfloCare. They were the ones that actually built out our portal. So InfloCare is a very great intake system that, allows for many different processes to be handled in one spot. And we've had the privilege of being able to join their intake system and be a part of their workflow. So if any one of our customers, of our agencies are working with InfloCare, if they want to track our system and how we're doing things, they're able to do it without having to log into 100 different portals they're in one convenient, nice spot. And it really makes the process, I feel, much better. You know, not only can you track, you know, what's going on with your Medicaid clients, but you can also track your marketing campaigns. You can track, you know, your e-signs, you know, what the amount of HIPAA forms you've had customers sign, you know, and just if you're a home care agency or if you're in an MLTC plan, you can track down, you know, your intake system, you know, see how many clients you're going to have on the first of the next month, you know, how many clients you're going to have on the first of the following month. So, you know, technology really during Corona especially showed us that, you know, the more technology you have, the better. And I, you know, so much thank you to InfloCare, because they really did help us become as paperless as possible. And I can honestly say that I was one of the first people that would never have thought that in a Medicaid company, you would not need paper. when you know, when someone told me that, you know, we're going to be paperless, I'm like, no, that's not gonna be us, you know.
I might have to look into them.
But
Yeah.
now, you know, it definitely is possible. So thank you so much to InfloCare for making that possible for us to be able to help the clients out without having to go to the office every single day, printing out a bunch of paper, scanning it all, you know, and just following up with their clients in such an easy and great way that doesn't, you know, require us to sit here all night just to figure out what clients we spoke to today, what clients we're going to speak to tomorrow, and what happens during all of our conversations with all of our reps and the clients.
And one day I just want to emphasize about our, you know, portal. It's HIPAA compliant, obviously, because, you know, when you're dealing with a lot of people's personal information, it's HIPAA compliant. And, you know, especially during COVID, where, you know, a lot of people obviously are afraid to go out, you know, leave their homes. You know, when it comes to Medicaid, obviously, you know, in order for us to accept the Medicaid application, we need the documentation. And, you know, usually people would, you know, either mail the documents or have to go out to a fax store and fax over the documents. But thanks to our, you know, software portal, thanks to InfloCare, they can text us their documents. They can easily, you know, take a picture, text, email, you know, scan an email, basically whatever, you know, whatever is more convenient for our members. That's what, you know, that's exactly how we, you know, go, especially when it comes to the Medicaid application, thanks to, you know, InfloCare. When we automate our Medicaid applications, obviously are typed up electronically, but once we have the supporting documents for the member, the supporting the portal basically combines, it pre-fills the application with the supporting documents. So the supporting document gets automatically attached to the application, and the application, the portal allows it, basically pre-fills the application with the, you know, obviously the patient's demo, their address, their, you know, income, you know, bank information. So the portal allows us to automatically just pre-fill the Medicaid application and also combines it with the supporting document. So it really has basically been a lifesaver, and it's made the process a lot more, you know, seamless, not only for us, but obviously for, you know, the members that we are assisting. Because the most important thing when it comes to Medicaid is, you know, the sooner you get the documents, the sooner the Medicaid will be approved, the sooner the individual will get the services they need. And at the end of the day, that's the, you know, that's the goal, is to get our patients the services that they need, whether they're at home or, you know, in a facility, nursing home.
How long is a typical process from start to finish, you know, for an application to get through?
So, you know, I always like to say that it all depends on the client. How compliant will be the client? So if the client is willing to do everything that's needed, it doesn't take that long. If they have to do, for example, an irrevocable trust first, then, you know, it's a matter of a couple of weeks, because they have to get the document, they have to sign the irrevocable trust. You have to get a tax ID done. And that's really what Paul handles here. Once Paul's firm confirms to us that, you know, the client is ready, you know, the irrevocable trust is established, we then work with the client to get their Medicaid documentation. So they can either send us the documentation by email, by fax. They can take a clear picture and text it into our software. You know, whatever, you know, if they need a house visit, we're able to do house visits, and it's not just within the 5 boroughs, it could be anywhere within New York State. And then we submit the Medicaid application. Once we have all the documents, the application is submitted the same day. And I'm proud to say that not many companies will tell you that they submit the applications the same day. We do. And that's a tremendous, tremendous benefit to the client because we're not wasting 24 hours. We're only waiting 5 minutes and we submit the application. So the ball starts rolling from there. The Medicaid application typically takes about 30 to 45 business days to get approved. Now, if we see that the patient is, let's just say they're a stage 4 cancer patient that really needs the services and they need immediate needs, we're actually integrated with a medical office by the name of New York Best Medical. They do telehealth visits. So they're able to get the doctor's paperwork done through telehealth in a very quick manner. So even if, we need doctor's paperwork to submit this type of application, it's not going to take us a very long time waiting on the doctor's office to send us this paperwork. It's only a matter of hours, between them doing the telehealth and then just quickly typing up what they have to do in order for us to submit the application. So no matter what the client needs, we're kind of like a one-stop shop for all of their needs, whether they need doctor's paperwork done, if they need to sign something without printing it out, thanks to InfoCare, we have that done. If they need an irrevocable trust, if they need a power of attorney with a gifts writer, anything they need, we're able to help them out and do it. So once the application is done, we'll do the pooled income trust, and then you don't have to wait that 3 to 4 month period that the pool trust typically takes to get approved. We will give a copy of the pooled income trust documents with the permission of the client to the home care agency, and they can start the home care process. So once the client is on home care services, we'll let the MLTC know, the managed long-term care plan or the HMO plan, that this client has a pool trust, it's in the process of the works. And once it's approved, the client is no longer going to get bills from those particular plans or HMO plans. So honestly, the quicker you get us the documents, the faster we can help you. That's basically the best thing that we can honestly say.
Basically here at Expert Medicaid, we're a one-stop shop for everything. So, when a person is over in resources, obviously that's where we work hand in hand with Paul, our elder care attorney. So anytime we have individuals, single, married, or, they have excess resources, that's where we, refer them to Paul, and Paul will, make sure and take care of that and make sure they qualify in terms of their resources. And also when it comes to individuals that might need their Medicaid application expedited, immediate needs application. And that's what we partnered up with New York Best Medical. As Leonor was mentioning, they're a house call doctors program. They conduct televisits. So when we need doctor's paperwork in order to expedite a Medicaid application, basically indicating that this person is chronically ill and they urgently need the coverage, that's where we work hand in hand with New York Best Medical. And they provide us, they'll call the patient, conduct the telephonic assessment over the phone, provide us with the paperwork that we need to submit it with the Medicaid application in order to get it expedited. And that's when the Medicaid kicks in. So we'll let them know what needs to be the next step for the home care process, schedule the appointment with the nurse. And if to be honest, everything goes smoothly, the process could take, in terms of getting them on home care, getting them on Medicaid, and then eventually getting them on home care services, could be 2.5 months if everything goes smoothly.
Well, so first of all, I know we're literally just a couple of minutes over the time, but I wanted to say this: you guys live up to your tagline, "Medicaid made easy." you really live up to it, and I love the concept that you actually throw that in there, and really you made every single attempt to make it quick and efficient for you guys as an operation, but also for the actual clients. So I just wanted to throw in there because
Thank you.
Really,
Thank you.
It made it so easy for me to understand it, but I guess everybody listening and watching in, to the show today or later, it is very simple. You guys are the experts. That's the other thing.
That's my favorite line. You just took it.
I'm with you now.
Thank you.
That's why we're called Expert Medicaid. Exactly.
That's right.
There we go.
I love it. Well, again, you are Expert Medicaid, and you really mean it, and you really do it. And certainly, I enjoyed actually the conversation, the information. each and every one. You guys are really a good team, tag team. And I hope that anyone that had, been with us, for the last hour or will be listening to the show later on the radio or any of the channels, please feel free to reach out to Expert Medicaid Solutions, Medicaid
Consultants.
Consultants. Want to
Consultants.
provide our number? So yeah,
We do have the best solutions for you. So either way.
There you go.
yeah,
So-
you can reach us at. No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say
Yeah,
you
please
can.
go ahead. Where do they reach you?
Expert Medicaid Consultants, and you can reach us at our phone direct number 718-650-3540. Whatever you need, we are here to assist you and make sure your loved ones or you yourself get the care that you need. At the end of the day, that's what, that's the most important thing.
And if you need any Medicaid planning or estate planning, Moskovitz Law Group is here for you.
Okay.
And the website.
Oh, our website is www.expertmedicaidconsultants.com. You can go on. You can also search us up on YouTube. You just type in Expert Medicaid Consultants, and a very cute cartoon video shows up with exactly how our process works. So you can't go wrong with like a little cartoon video. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram. You can literally find us anywhere. So, just call, where our phones are always ready. We're always managing the phones. Our office hours are 12 hours a day, and we even have Sundays open. So, please, we welcome everybody to give us a call. Even if you think that you really do not qualify, there's a lot of people that tell us, I spoke with my neighbor and my neighbor said I'm not qualified. Forget your neighbor, please call us and we'll help you out.
Well,
I
good.
think that's the final, objective here. Just call and find out. It's a free consultation, friendly people answering the phones to talk to you, speak with you, see what your situation is, see how you can qualify and explain it to you. And it doesn't hurt to call and get educated.
Exactly.
Well, guess what? Now you added another platform where people can reach out to you. So, because your information is going to be on this show for live and all the platforms. So again, I will put all the description, the information on the description of the show, and people will have access to it as well. So on behalf of me, Hurricane Age, and the IL channel, IHAT Radio, and all our listeners, and I'll just thank you for joining us tonight and for all the valuable information and really, really helpful stuff. And look forward to hopefully getting a lot of calls, from the opportunity here. And let's help people. That's
Absolutely.
That's all it is. Thanks so much for having us, and have a
Thank
great
you for having us. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. We'll talk
Take care,
tomorrow
guys.
for a different show, folks. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.